Ladies and gentlemen, this is Paul Vanderbilt, and I would like to welcome you to this installment of the Review Desk. Terraforming, once the stuff of science fiction, has now been a hotly debated topic, especially in the rise of global warming. Could we terraform a different planet and make it habitable for us as a species? This is a question on the minds of such pioneers as Elon Musk, who has presented various plans to terraform Mars. Joining us today is physicist Emmett Polk from the University of Tennessee, who will help us get down to brass tacks when it comes to making another planet as habitable as our own. Mr. Polk, or should I say Professor Polk, welcome back to the Review Desk.
Thank you, Mr. Vanderbilt, for inviting me over again. It is, as usual, a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Polk. Now, Mr. Elon Musk is somewhat of an inventor himself. He has proposed a plan to terraform the planet of Mars, it being the most viable prospect in our current solar system as we know it. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, Mars is most definitely the most likely candidate for terraforming. There are a number of issues, though. Mr. Musk's proposed method of terraforming is not quite as sound as he might make it out to be.
Not quite as sound?
No, you see, he surmised that by dropping nuclear bombs on Mars's two poles, north and south, that we could potentially release enough carbon dioxide into the atmosphere and bind it, which would create a habitable biosphere for humans and other life forms on the planet Earth to survive.
Is this quite possible?
Well, there are a number of issues with that theory. One being that there simply isn't enough carbon dioxide under Mars' surface to maintain a habitable biosphere. You could release every single bit of carbon dioxide that's currently trapped in Mars and would still not be enough to bind the gases and the elements that we need to form a habitable biosphere. Furthermore, Mr. Musk has highly underestimated the amount of nuclear power we would need to achieve this, even if there was enough carbon dioxide under the surface.
How much nuclear bombs are we talking about?
Well, he would consider a handful of bombs, but the truth is that a nuclear explosion anyway, only maintains its level of heat for about 50 seconds, a little under a minute. And to sustain the atmosphere that you would be able to create by releasing the carbon dioxide, you would need heat to bind it. And the amount of heat necessary released, you require somewhere near 4,000 nuclear bombs to be detonated on a daily basis.
On a daily basis?
Yes, on a daily basis. That's how much heat it really requires to maintain it. Now, we have to keep in mind that Mars's atmosphere is about 1% of Earth's. So where our elements are bound, the elements on Mars would simply evaporate when it comes down to water, which is one of the most essential, if not the most essential, elements you need to procure life. But it would either evaporate in the atmosphere that cannot maintain it, or simply freeze, and we would be stuck with frozen water again under the surface of Mars. So as ambitious as Mr. Musk's plan are, I don't think it's viable.
Is there a more sound method of terraforming? Is there a more probable method of terraforming at the moment?
The truth is that we simply don't have the science for it. The only two ways to terraform a planet like Mars would be to either shift its axis a number of degrees so that it ends up in what we like to call the Goldilocks zone, which is the necessary distance your planet needs to be from the sun in order to develop a habitable atmosphere, or you would need a massive amount of carbon dioxide to be maintained also in the atmosphere with enough heat.
Now, on the planet Earth, global warming has been an issue for quite some time. Some would say we need to get rid of excess amounts of carbon dioxide. Seeing as how the planet Mars lacks this crucial element, would it be possible in some way to export excess amounts of carbon dioxide from our planet Earth to the planet Mars?
Not only would this not be viable, it would take, even with technology more advanced than our own at the moment, it would take about 2 years for a spacecraft to travel from the Earth to the planet Mars. Furthermore, it's not that easy to transport carbon dioxide from one planet to another. We simply do not have the technology for it. Also, I do not think that is a solution to our current global warming issue. We simply need to cut emissions in an effective way.
Does the prospect of terraforming and living on another planet excite you?
As a scientist, absolutely. I do have some mixed feelings about it, to be honest.
What are these mixed feelings?
Well, you see, as a scientist, I am absolutely thrilled that we are exploring again. The last true missions that we've had to space was to the moon. The fact that NASA is going to be setting up a moon base so that we can travel to other parts of our galaxy much easier, that is absolutely thrilling. We're being pioneers again. We're standing on the shoulders of the frontier and decide to push forward. The concept of terraforming, if we keep developing the science for it, we might one day develop it and actually make a habitable planet. So all of these things have me very much excited. One of the reasons why I have reservations is at climate change protests. There's a message that's become very popular that says there is no planet B.
Yes.
Now, the minute that we do find a way to terraform one planet and get ourselves a planet B, I'm afraid that the human variable will play a very crucial role in taking that planet for granted. Right now, there is a push to save the planet Earth and to cut emissions down so that we can maintain the habitability of this planet. But I'm afraid that as human beings, as soon as we know we can hop from planet A to planet B, we won't take those concerns so seriously. Well, consider that why should I bother saving the Earth? Why should I minimize my use of plastics and my use of fossil fuels if I can just jump on a rocket to the next planet? And should we succeed in terraforming Mars when we finally get there, the mentality, I'm afraid, is going to be amongst a lot of people that I don't have to be very careful with this new planet, because should it fail, we can always make a new one. We can always push our government to terraform another planet, and then we simply move to there when we strip this one of all its resources.
Is there another viable candidate in our solar system for terraforming?
Yeah, the very next viable candidate would be Venus. Now, the problem with Venus is that there's actually too much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and you would have to drastically reduce the planet's temperature. Right now, it's about 450 degrees Celsius on the surface of Venus, which would utterly obliterate any living being that even gets close to it. Another factor is that the planet is far too dense, so you would have to do something about that density. The temperature. It is said that temperature is caused from the greenhouse effect caused by the dense atmosphere. So if you were able to manage the carbon dioxide supply, you would indirectly tackle the temperature problem right away. Of course, the issue being again, how do you do that? There's really no science to it, and also, as I said, going to Mars, it takes about 2 years, and Venus is much further in our solar system, so it doesn't look very promising at the moment. But it is a candidate to keep considering, but we do not have the science ready for it.
What advice, if any, would you have for those who are looking forward to a terraformed planet in our solar system?
I say appreciate what you have before looking towards what you want.
Yes. If we don't take care of the planet that we have right now, we might not live long enough to move to another one. Mr. Polk, I thank you for your input as always.
And as always, it's been a pleasure to be on the review desk, Mr. Vanderbilt. Thank you for having me again.
Yes, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, preserve your planet, protect our planet, and let us by no means take it for granted. This is Paul Vanderbilt for the review desk saying good night and good fortune.